The Exorcist didn't just scare audiences, it traumatized them, sent them running from theaters, sparked protests, and changed horror forever. But behind the demonic possession and spinning heads, the production was cursed. The set caught fire. Actors were injured. And one scene, it was so disturbing that the director filmed it in secret. These are 20 secrets about The Exorcist hidden for decades. And buried in the terror, a voice so demonic it didn't belong to any actor in the film. Prepare yourself. This gets darker than you think. Number 20. The set burned down, under mysterious circumstances.
Did you do that?
During production, the McNeil House set caught fire and burned extensively. The blaze destroyed most of the interior, forcing a complete rebuild that delayed filming for 6 weeks. What made it strange was that only Reagan's bedroom, the epicenter of the possession, remained untouched. Everything around it burned, but that one room survived without damage. Fire investigators couldn't determine the cause. There was no electrical malfunction, no evidence of arson, no explanation. The crew, already superstitious about the material they were filming, saw it as an omen. Some refused to return to work, believing the production was genuinely cursed. Director William Friedkin dismissed the supernatural explanations, but acknowledged the fire's timing was unsettling. The rebuilt set felt different, crew members reported. Colder, heavier, like the air itself had changed. Whether psychological or genuine, the atmosphere affected everyone. Actors delivered more intense performances after returning. The fear on screen became more authentic, because the fear behind the camera had become real. Ellen Burstyn later said she never felt comfortable on that set again, always sensing something watching from the corners. The fire added months to production and hundreds of thousands to the budget, but it also added something intangible, a genuine unease that seeped into every frame filmed after the blaze, making the horror feel less like fiction and more like documentation. Number 19. Linda Blair's life was threatened by religious extremists.
Stop! It's burning! It's burning!
Do something, Doctor, please help!
In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ!
Linda Blair was only 14 when The Exorcist made her famous, but that fame came with a terrifying price. Religious extremists convinced the film was genuinely satanic, sent death threats to her home. Letters arrived weekly, sometimes daily, promising violence, damnation, and revenge for participating in evil. Some threatened to kidnap her. Others described specific ways they planned to hurt her. Warner Brothers hired bodyguards to protect Blair and her family. She couldn't attend school normally, couldn't go to public places without security. Her mother screened all mail, destroying the most disturbing threats before Linda could see them. But some got through. Blair later described reading detailed descriptions of violence from people who believed she was personally responsible for spreading demonic influence. The psychological impact was devastating. A child actor who'd simply done her job became the target of strangers' religious fury. She developed anxiety, struggled with the sudden loss of normal life, and couldn't understand why people hated her for playing a character. The threats continued for years, intensifying whenever the film was re-released or aired on television. Blair eventually became reclusive, avoiding publicity, turning down roles that might attract similar attention. She'd achieved stardom, but at a cost most actors never face. The film made her career, but it also made her a target, proving that sometimes the line between fiction and reality disappears for audiences who see demons everywhere. Number 18. Mercedes McCambridge's voice work was kept secret.
Who are you?
Throw it up your ass!
In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ!
The demonic voice of Reagan, that guttural, inhuman sound that terrified millions, didn't come from Linda Blair. It came from veteran actress Mercedes McCambridge, and her contribution was deliberately hidden. Warner Brothers wanted audiences to believe that Blair performed everything, that a child actress could produce those sounds. So, McCambridge wasn't credited initially. Her work was kept secret to preserve the illusion. She agreed to the arrangement, but later regretted it deeply. McCambridge's process was disturbing. To create the demon's voice, she chain-smoked, drank raw eggs mixed with whiskey, and had herself bound to a chair. The physical restriction and substances damaged her vocal cords temporarily, creating the ragged, tortured quality Friedkin wanted. She screamed obscenities, blasphemies, threats, recording for hours until her throat bled. The booth where she worked was freezing cold, her breath visible, adding to the otherworldly quality. When the film became a phenomenon and McCambridge received no recognition, she felt betrayed. She'd destroyed her voice, subjected herself to physical and psychological trauma, and gotten nothing. She eventually fought for screen credit, threatening legal action. Warner Brothers relented, but only after the film's initial run. By then, most people believed the voice was Blair's, and McCambridge's extraordinary contribution remained largely unknown. She later called it the most difficult and unrewarding work of her career, a brilliant performance hidden behind a conspiracy of silence. Number 17. Ellen Burstyn's injury was left in the film.
When I touch your forehead, open your
Out
eyes.
of her mind, psychotic, like a split personality or...
The scene where Reagan throws her mother across the room looks violently real because it was. Ellen Burstyn was supposed to be pulled backward by a cable rig, falling onto padding, but the stunt coordinator pulled too hard. Burstyn was yanked with tremendous force, landing on her lower back on the floor, missing the padding entirely. Her scream of pain in that moment is genuine. She'd suffered a permanent spinal injury that would cause chronic pain for the rest of her life. William Friedkin, watching from the monitor, saw the fall and Burstyn's reaction. He called cut, checked if she could continue, and when she said yes, he kept the take. That authentic scream of agony, the look of shock and pain on her face, it made the scene more effective than any amount of acting could. Burstyn was furious when she discovered her injury was permanent. She felt betrayed by Friedkin's decision to use footage of her genuine suffering, making entertainment from her pain. She confronted him during post-production, demanding he remove the scene. Friedkin refused, arguing it was essential to the film's impact. Their working relationship never recovered. Decades later, Burstyn still experiences back pain from that fall. She's said in interviews that every time she sees the film, she relives the moment her body was damaged for someone else's art, questioning whether any performance is worth permanent injury. Number 16. The demon face flashes were subliminal.
Sheriff? Sheriff?
Throughout The Exorcist, a pale, terrifying face appears for single frames, so briefly that most viewers don't consciously register it. But their subconscious does, creating unease without knowing why. The face belongs to actress Eileen Dietz, made up to look demonic, filmed specifically for these subliminal inserts. William Friedkin used the technique to create sustained dread, making audiences feel watched by something malevolent even during quiet moments. The practice was controversial. Subliminal messaging in films occupied an ethical gray area. Some argued it was manipulation, bypassing conscious thought to create fear that audiences couldn't defend against. Others said it was brilliant filmmaking, using every tool available to achieve the desired effect. Friedkin didn't care about the controversy. He wanted The Exorcist to disturb people on multiple levels, conscious and unconscious. Those demon flashes succeeded perfectly. Viewers would leave theaters feeling deeply unsettled without knowing why, reporting nightmares about a face they couldn't quite remember seeing. The technique became influential, copied by countless horror films afterward. But few used it as effectively as Friedkin. His demon face inserts were timed precisely, appearing during moments of false calm, reminding audiences that evil was always present, always watching. Modern viewers who know about the flashes specifically look for them, freezing frames to catch what their grandparents only glimpsed. And even when you know it's coming, even when you pause and examine the face, it's still deeply unsettling. Number 15. Max von Sydow was younger than his character's mother. Father. Marin, the elderly exorcist, was played by Max von Sydow with such conviction that audiences assumed he was actually old. He wasn't. Von Sydow was only 44 during filming. playing a character written as being in his 70s. Vasiliki Maliaros, who played Father Karras' mother, was genuinely elderly, actually older than Von Sydow by several years. The irony wasn't lost on the cast. The makeup transformation was extraordinary. Von Sydow spent hours daily having prosthetics applied, aging his face by 3 decades. Contact lenses clouded his eyes, latex wrinkled his skin, body padding changed his posture. The process was exhausting, painful, and claustrophobic. Von Sydow later said, "Wearing the makeup in Iraq's scorching heat, where the opening sequence was filmed, was one of the most physically demanding experiences of his career. Between takes, he'd sit in the shade, unable to eat or drink easily, because removing the prosthetics meant hours reapplying them. The transformation was so complete that crew members who'd met Von Sydow out of makeup didn't recognize him on set. Linda Blair, who primarily worked with him in full Marin makeup, was shocked when she finally saw him as himself. She'd believed he was genuinely elderly, a kind old man playing a priest. Learning he was relatively young and enduring tremendous discomfort to create the illusion made her respect the craft of acting in entirely new ways." Number 14. William Friedkin fired a gun on set to shock actors. William Friedkin's directing methods were extreme, designed to extract genuine reactions rather than performances. His most controversial technique involved real guns loaded with blanks. He'd fire them without warning during takes, creating authentic fear and surprise. Jason Miller, playing Father Karras, was sitting alone during a quiet scene when Friedkin fired a gun off camera. Miller's shocked reaction, the jump, the momentary terror in his eyes, that's real. He wasn't acting startled. He was genuinely startled, adrenaline flooding his system before his brain processed what happened. The gun trick worked, creating visceral reactions impossible to fake, but it also created resentment. Actors felt manipulated, treated like props rather than collaborators. Some called Friedkin's methods abusive. He'd terrorize performers to get the shots he wanted, prioritizing results over their well-being or comfort. Ellen Burstyn and Max von Sydow both confronted Friedkin about his techniques, demanding he stop using fear as a directing tool. He ignored them, continuing throughout production. His philosophy was simple. The Exorcist needed to feel authentically terrifying, and authentic terror required real fear, even if that meant traumatizing his cast. Looking back, Friedkin has expressed minimal regret. He believes the film's effectiveness justifies the methods. The actors, however, remember differently. Most say they'd never work with him again, that no performance is worth being deliberately frightened or hurt. Number 13. The crucifix scene was filmed without studio knowledge.
What is it?
The infamous scene where Reagan violates herself with a crucifix was so extreme that William Friedkin knew Warner Brothers would never approve it. So he didn't ask. He filmed it secretly, using a closed set with minimal crew, and only revealed the footage after it was already shot and edited into the film. When studio executives saw it, they were horrified. They demanded it be cut immediately, calling it obscene, indefensible, and guaranteed to earn an X rating. Friedkin refused. He argued the scene was essential, that removing it would neuter the film's power. The studio threatened to fire him. Friedkin threatened to walk away from the entire project, taking his footage with him. The standoff lasted weeks, becoming increasingly hostile. Eventually, a compromise was reached. The scene could stay, but had to be trimmed slightly, reducing the most graphic moments. Friedkin agreed, but kept the core intact. When the ratings board saw the film, they initially assigned an X rating specifically because of that scene. Friedkin appealed, arguing the violence served the story rather than exploiting it. After multiple reviews and edits, the film squeaked by with an R rating. The scene remained controversial for decades, frequently cited as an example of horror gone too far. But Friedkin never regretted fighting for it. He believed authentically depicting demonic possession required showing evil at its most vile, most blasphemous, most unwatchable. Number 12. Jason Miller was an unknown playwright, not an actor.
If you're the devil, why not make the stripes disappear?
That's much too vulgar a display of power, Karen.
I should have been there. I wasn't there. I should have been there.
Father, Damien Karras, the doubting priest at the film's emotional center, was played by Jason Miller, a man who'd never starred in a film before. He was a playwright and stage actor, completely unknown to Hollywood. William Friedkin saw him in a small theater production and immediately knew he'd found his Karras. Miller's haunted quality, his natural gravitas, his authentic embodiment of guilt and crisis of faith, it couldn't be taught or faked. The studio wanted a name actor. They pushed for established stars who could sell tickets. Friedkin refused every suggestion, insisting Miller was irreplaceable. They tested other actors anyway, hoping Friedkin would compromise. He wouldn't. Eventually, the studio relented, gambling on an unknown in a major role. Miller's inexperience showed in some ways. He struggled with film technique, had to be coached on hitting marks, and didn't understand camera coverage. But that raw quality, that sense of a real person rather than a movie star playing a role, made his performance extraordinary. His scenes with Linda Blair crackle with genuine emotion. His crisis of faith feels authentic, because Miller was working through his own doubts about religion while filming. The physical stunt work terrified him. He wasn't trained for action and didn't know how to sell movie violence, so his fear during the exorcism scenes was partially genuine. The film made Miller a star, but he never fully embraced Hollywood. He returned to theater, writing and performing, using his brief film career to fund his true passion. Number 11. The cold breath was created by refrigerating. The entire set.
Our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Holy water.
Those scenes where characters' breath is visible inside Reagan's room weren't special effects. William Friedkin refrigerated the entire bedroom, set to below freezing temperatures, making it genuinely Arctic. Actors performed in winter coats between takes, then stripped down to their costumes and endured the cold during filming. Their visible breath, their shivering, the way they move stiffly, all real. Linda Blair, wearing minimal clothing as possessed by Reagan, suffered tremendously. She was a child being subjected to genuinely frigid conditions for hours at a time. The cold caused her physical pain, but Friedkin insisted it was necessary for authenticity. Her mother protested repeatedly, but production lawyers confirmed they weren't violating child labor laws, so filming continued. The cold affected the crew too. Camera operators wore gloves, making delicate work nearly impossible. Sound technicians struggled with equipment that malfunctioned in freezing temperatures. Everyone was miserable, but the footage looked incredible. That visible breath added visceral reality. Impossible to achieve with CGI or breath spray. Ellen Burstyn later said, those were the most physically uncomfortable scenes she'd ever filmed. The combination of cold and the heavy material she was performing created genuine suffering that translated to the screen. Modern viewers watching those scenes see authentic human discomfort, bodies responding to genuinely harsh conditions. That authenticity, purchased through the cast and crew's suffering, became another layer in The Exorcist's unflinching realism. Number 10. 9 people connected to the film died during production. The Exorcist curse wasn't just superstition. 9 people connected to the production died during or shortly after filming, creating genuine fear among cast and crew. Jack McGowran, who played Burke Dennings, died from complications of influenza before the film was released. Vasiliki Maliaros, Father Karras' mother, passed away before seeing the finished film. A night watchman died on set. Actors' relatives, crew members, family members, the deaths kept mounting. Each loss deepened the conviction that something malevolent was attached to the production. The cast became increasingly superstitious. Some refused to discuss the material between takes. Others carried religious items for protection. Linda Blair's mother had the set blessed multiple times by different priests, though none seemed to help. William Friedkin publicly dismissed the curse as a coincidence, pointing out that thousands of people were connected to the production, and death is statistically inevitable. But privately, even he admitted the clustering of deaths was unusual. unsettling. The deaths weren't all natural causes either. Some were accidents, sudden illnesses, and unexplained medical events. The pattern was disturbing enough that several crew members quit, refusing to continue despite financial penalties. Insurance companies flagged the production as high risk. When the film was finally released and became a phenomenon, the death toll became part of its mythology. Audiences believed they were watching something genuinely cursed, footage touched by real evil. Whether supernatural or tragic coincidence, the deaths added a layer of authentic dread that no amount of special effects could manufacture. Number 9. William Peter Blatty based the story on a real exorcism. The Exorcist wasn't entirely fiction. Author William Peter Blatty based his novel, and subsequently the screenplay, on a documented 1949 exorcism of a teenage boy in Maryland. While researching at Georgetown University, Blatty discovered articles about the case, which had been kept relatively quiet by the Catholic Church. The real exorcism lasted months, involved multiple priests, and reportedly included many phenomena later depicted in the film: objects moving, unexplained sounds, the victim speaking in unknown languages, and violent physical reactions. Blatty changed key details, making the victim a young girl instead of a boy, relocating the story, and dramatizing events for cinematic effect. But the core remained rooted in documented events. He interviewed priests who'd witnessed exorcisms, studied Catholic ritual, and researched demonic possession across cultures. His goal was authenticity within the horror. The church's reaction to the film was mixed. Some priests praised its serious treatment of possession and faith. Others condemned it for sensationalizing sacred rituals. The real priests involved in the 1949 case never publicly commented, bound by vows of secrecy. But documents released decades later confirmed many details Blatty had incorporated. The bed shaking, the temperature drops, and the inhuman strength all reportedly happened during the actual exorcism. Knowing the film had roots in reality changed how audiences experienced it. This wasn't just horror fiction. It was a dramatization of events the Catholic Church acknowledged as genuine. That thin line between fact and fiction made The Exorcist uniquely terrifying. Number 8. The spider walk scene was cut then restored, decades later.
Inside of Reagan?
One of the film's most disturbing images, Reagan descending the stairs backward in a grotesque spider walk, wasn't in the original theatrical release. William Friedkin filmed it, but cut it before the premiere, believing the effect looked too fake, too obviously a stunt. The scene was achieved using Linda Blair's body double, contortionist Linda Hager, who could genuinely walk backward on her hands and feet in that inhuman position. But the wires visible in some shots and the obvious body switch bothered Friedkin. He felt it pulled audiences out of the film's reality, reminding them they were watching special effects. So he removed it entirely, and for 27 years, audiences never saw the spider walk. Then in 2000, during preparation for a special edition re-release, Friedkin revisited the footage. Digital technology had advanced enough to remove the wires and smooth the transitions. He reconsidered his original decision, realizing the scene's disturbing power outweighed any technical imperfections. The restored version included the spider walk, and it became instantly iconic. New audiences found it deeply unsettling, that the impossible movement triggering primal revulsion. The scene went viral before viral was common, appearing in compilations and being endlessly referenced. Friedkin admitted he'd been wrong to cut it, that sometimes technical imperfection matters less than emotional impact. The spider walk proved more disturbing than the head spinning, more memorable than the vomiting, because it showed the human body moving in ways that violated natural law. Number 7. Warner Brothers wanted a happy ending. Added after test screenings, Warner Brothers executives panicked. The Exorcist's ending, with Father Karras dead and Reagan traumatized but freed, felt too dark. too unresolved. They demanded that William Friedkin shoot an additional scene showing Reagan fully recovered, happy, adjusted, living normally. They wanted audiences to leave theaters reassured, not disturbed. Friedkin refused absolutely. He argued the ambiguous, tragic ending was essential to the film's meaning. The demon was defeated, but the cost was devastating. Adding false reassurance would betray everything the story represented. The studio pushed harder, threatening to edit the film themselves or release it with a disclaimer. Friedkin threatened legal action, citing creative control clauses in his contract. The battle escalated to Warner Brothers. Top executives. They brought in test audiences again, asking specifically about the ending. The results surprised them. Audiences didn't want reassurance. They appreciated the dark conclusion, felt it respected their intelligence, and made the horror feel consequential. The studio backed down, allowing Friedkin's ending to remain, but they compromised by adding the epilogue with Father Dyer and Lieutenant Kinderman, a brief moment of human connection after trauma. That scene wasn't Friedkin's idea, but he accepted it as harmless. The studio got their small concession, a glimpse of hope amid darkness, but the core remained intact. Evil had been fought, but victory came at a terrible price, and some scars never fully healed. Number 6. Linda Blair had no idea what the film was really about.
Compels you!
We built this set. The exterior was in Georgetown. The interior was on a soundstage.
In Rome, would you try it again, please, and let it ring? Hello? Yes.
Throughout production, Linda Blair was shielded from understanding the full nature of what she was filming. She was 14, and her mother, along with William Friedkin, deliberately kept her ignorant of the film's sexual and blasphemous content. She knew she was playing a sick girl, possessed by something bad, but didn't comprehend the explicit nature of the possession. The profane dialogue she delivered, she recited phonetically without understanding the meanings. The physical violations her character performed, she acted them out as directed without grasping their implications. This wasn't deception, it was protection. Child labor laws and ethical concerns required that Blair not be exposed to genuinely traumatic material, so they carefully controlled what she knew, showing her only the pages she needed for each scene, never letting her see the full script or understand the bigger picture. Blair later said she thought she was making a scary movie about a girl who got sick, similar to a medical drama. She didn't realize she'd starred in one of the most controversial horror films ever made until years later, when she was old enough to actually watch it. Her first viewing of the completed film shocked her. She didn't recognize her own performance, seeing it through adult eyes and understanding for the first time what she'd participated in. That innocence during filming, however, contributed to her performance's power. Reagan's possession felt genuine, partly because Blair herself was innocent, corrupted by forces she didn't truly understand. Number 5. The film was banned in multiple countries for decades.
Things have gotten worse since I found you. I think I'm upstairs.
It just scared me to death. Things just like this really scared me to death.
The Exorcist release sparked global controversy, leading to outright bans in numerous countries. The United Kingdom banned it completely in certain cities, with some local councils prohibiting screenings for over a decade. It wasn't available on home video in the UK until 1999, 26 years after its theatrical release. Singapore banned it entirely until 2000. Ireland restricted it heavily, allowing only limited screenings with severe age restrictions. The reasons varied by country. Some cited religious objections, claiming the film was blasphemous and offensive to Christian faith. Others focused on the graphic content, arguing it exceeded acceptable standards for violence and disturbing imagery. Several predominantly Catholic nations banned it under pressure from the church, which saw the film as dangerous propaganda. In countries where it wasn't banned, it faced heavy censorship. Scenes were cut, dialogue altered, and entire sequences removed. Some international versions were barely recognizable compared to the American release. The bans and censorship created a forbidden fruit effect. The more governments tried to suppress The Exorcist, the more people wanted to see it. Black market copies circulated, bootleg screenings happened in basements and private clubs. The film's reputation grew beyond its actual content, becoming mythologized as too extreme for public viewing. When bans were finally lifted decades later, new generations flocked to theaters, expecting to be traumatized. Many found it less shocking than they had imagined, but the legend persisted. Number 4. The makeup took 5 hours daily to apply. Creating Regan's possessed appearance required Linda Blair to sit motionless for 5 hours every morning while makeup artists transformed her. The process started at 3 a.m., so filming could begin by 8. Layers of prosthetics were carefully applied, each piece glued and blended to create seamless demonic features. Contact lenses that turned her eyes yellow were inserted, causing genuine discomfort and limiting her vision. Her skin was painted in layers, creating the mottled, diseased appearance. The worst part, according to Blair, was the eye work. The contacts were thick, uncomfortable, and dried out quickly under hot studio lights. She could barely see, had to be guided around set between takes, and couldn't wear them for more than short periods without eye drops. The makeup itself was physically taxing. The glue irritated her skin. The prosthetics were heavy and restricting. The paint contained chemicals that occasionally caused reactions. By the end of 12-hour shooting days, removing everything took another 2 hours and left her skin raw. Blair endured this routine for months, missing school, missing normal teenage life, sitting in a makeup chair while artists turned her into a monster. She later said those early morning sessions were meditative, almost peaceful, before the chaos of filming began. But they were also isolating, transforming her from a child into something inhuman, making it hard to remember who she really was underneath all the latex and paint. Number 3. Audiences fainted and vomited in theaters, worldwide. The Exorcist's theatrical release created unprecedented physical reactions from audiences. People didn't just get scared, they had visceral medical responses. Reports came from theaters worldwide: fainting, vomiting, panic attacks, people running from auditoriums in tears. Theaters stationed nurses in lobbies to treat affected viewers. Some provided Exorcist barf bags as a precaution. Paramedics were called regularly to theaters showing the film. The reactions weren't isolated incidents. They were consistent, predictable, happening at specific scenes. The angiography sequence early in the film, showing medical procedures in graphic detail, caused numerous fainting episodes. The crucifix scene triggered walkouts and vomiting. The head spinning provoked screams and panic attacks. Theater owners initially thought the reports were exaggerated publicity stunts. They weren't. The phenomenon was real, documented by medical professionals and media coverage. Psychologists studied why The Exorcist affected people so profoundly beyond typical horror reactions. They concluded the film tapped into primal fears, religious trauma, parental anxiety, and loss of control simultaneously. The possession of an innocent child violated fundamental assumptions about safety and divine protection. The clinical realistic presentation made it feel documentary rather than fiction. People's bodies rebelled against what their minds were processing. The physical reactions became part of the film's marketing. Warner Brothers leaned into it, using testimonials from affected viewers in advertisements, turning audience trauma into selling points. The message was clear: this film will make you physically ill, and that's exactly why you should see it. Number 2. William Friedkin slapped a priest to get an authentic reaction, father.
Push it! All right, get back!
Do you want to make a confession?
William O'Malley, a real Jesuit priest playing Father Dyer in the film, struggled with his performance during the scene where he administers last rites to the dying Father Karras. He couldn't access the appropriate emotion. His delivery felt flat, unconvincing. William Friedkin needed genuine grief, authentic spiritual anguish. After multiple failed takes, Friedkin pulled O'Malley aside and asked permission to do something extreme. O'Malley agreed without knowing what Friedkin planned. When the cameras rolled again, Friedkin walked up to O'Malley and slapped him hard across the face without warning. The shock, pain, and immediate emotional response that followed, Friedkin captured it all. O'Malley's performance in that take, delivered while still processing being struck, was raw and genuine. The grief and confusion on his face weren't acting. Friedkin got his shot, and never apologized. Years later, O'Malley discussed the incident with mixed feelings. He understood why Friedkin did it and acknowledged that the result was powerful. But he also felt violated, manipulated, reduced to an object rather than a collaborator. The slap became emblematic of Friedkin's directing style. Results mattered more than relationships. Authenticity justified any method, and actors' comfort was secondary to cinematic impact. Modern directors would be sued or fired for such behavior. But in 1973, Friedkin's extreme methods were seen as visionary, pushing boundaries to achieve unprecedented realism. Number 1. The film changed. The Catholic Church's policy on exorcism.
The power of Christ compels you!
Father Karras, it's an honor to meet you.
Before The Exorcist, exorcism was a dying practice within the Catholic Church, performed rarely and discussed even less. After the film's release, everything changed. Requests for exorcisms exploded worldwide. Overwhelming dioceses with demands from people convinced they, or their loved ones, were possessed. The Church faced a crisis. Most requests were clearly psychiatric issues, not demonic possession, but the film had convinced people otherwise. They needed more trained exorcists to handle the influx, while also educating clergy to distinguish genuine cases from mental illness. The Vatican responded by revising and expanding exorcism training. They established new protocols, created educational programs, and appointed more official exorcists globally. The film had accidentally revived a practice the Church had been quietly letting fade. But there was a darker consequence. The Exorcist also inspired fraudulent exorcists, people with no religious authority performing dangerous rituals on vulnerable individuals. Several deaths resulted from botched exorcisms performed by unqualified people inspired by the film. The Church found itself fighting misconceptions the movie had created, while simultaneously acknowledging that public interest had forced them to take possession more seriously. William Peter. Blatty and William Friedkin never anticipated their film would have such a profound impact on religious practice. They'd made a horror movie based on historical cases, not a theological statement. But The Exorcist transcended entertainment, becoming a cultural force that genuinely altered how the Catholic Church approached one of its most mysterious and controversial rituals. The Exorcist didn't just make horror history, it traumatized a generation, changed religious practice, and left scars on everyone who touched it. The secrets didn't diminish the terror, they explained it. If this haunted you, hit like, subscribe, and tell us which secret shocked you most. Thanks for watching. And remember, some films don't just scare you, they change you forever.